Is she?
Howdy.
How you doing, dear?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm outstanding. It's another rumbling afternoon here. I was literally chased down the street in my afternoon walk by a thunderstorm. It was kind of,
Goodness.
it's that kind of a day.
Wow.
But with
It's
some folks coming in, I hope you're having a good day, my dear.
I am. So far so
Out-
good.
Outstanding, outstanding, outstanding. Well, let's see. Let's touch the first issue of the week, which this has been kind of rolling around the last few days. And we want to thank folks for popping in today to this episode of the Ketovore Kast here on Instagram Live.
Yes. Howdy,
But one
y'all.
issue has been coming up a lot and been talked about and argued about and people fussing back and forth is this grass-fed versus grain-fed beef nonsense.
Yes.
And we're not going to mention any names. We're not going to advertise, or we're not going to impugn anybody's reputation. But I was taught to eat the meat I crave and can afford. And I can't afford grass-fed beef, but I don't seem to be missing much. I'm thriving. It's obvious I'm thriving. So I think it's much ado about nothing. If you can afford it, and you like grass-fed beef, eat all of it you can possibly stand. I don't care. But for me, it's not controversial. Some people want to make it controversial, is my opinion, mostly to draw attention to themselves and maybe sell some of their products. Amber, what do you think?
Well, personally, I think it's kind of sad to basically tell somebody that if they can't have this particular product, that they can't do the lifestyle. I mean, that I think that's terrible. That's not a good message to send. We all can't afford grass-fed beef. And you know what? Sometimes it's hard to find, period. And I'll get to that discussion a little later because anyway, but no, I just think it's kind of sad to push that so hard. If you can afford it and that's what you want to do, go for it. I admit occasionally I do buy grass-fed beef. Is that all I eat? No, absolutely not. Do I think it's hurting me in any way? No, I don't. I absolutely don't. I mean, is there a benefit? There might be. I don't really know enough about it. That seems to kind of be a controversial thing, but I don't think there's like a huge enough benefit to discount everybody else who can't afford it from doing the lifestyle. That's what I have an issue with.
Yeah, it's rather ridiculous to think that. I mean, let's face it. We humans, we like to compartmentalize things. We like to slice and dice it down to, you know, you're in the club or you're out of the club, and when people like to
Hmm.
make it as restrictive as possible or as
Yep,
open, it's just human idiocy, in my opinion, that this is even an issue. Because the point is proper nutrition.
exactly.
And if a cow eats grass and in the last few weeks of its life it's eaten grain and that makes the meat fattier and tastier, awesome. I got no problem with it.
I don't either.
And, you know, now somebody makes a good point in the chat right now, Mother Ketosis. She says, I think it's what your body wants. Some people who have horrible grain reactions, I can see, but that's an
Right.
extreme. She buys grass-fed once in a blue moon. She likes grain-fed more because it seems to taste fattier. Joe Anderson
Yeah.
of Charlene and Joe Anderson fame. Joe commented to me to my Instagram live, or not live, but TV, excuse me, um, that he thought it was ridiculous too that they couldn't get the health that they sought until they got nothing but grain-fed meat. You
Right.
know, and that's a great point. And, you know, 85% of most cattle's life is grass-fed, and they're
Exactly.
finished on grain. To me, it's a big
Exactly.
nothing burger. It's a nothing burger.
I
Don't
agree.
waste time and energy on it, my friends.
Exactly.
um, Let's talk about some of the benefits of being carnivore besides the obvious that we've beat to death left and right with our own personal experiences, which we'll beat to death again at a later time, probably before the end of this hour, I have no doubt. But people talk about all the time, I can't afford to just eat meat. It's so expensive. And I'm thinking, I haven't been to see a doctor. I haven't had a need to go see a doctor since 2017.
Yeah.
I haven't had to take a pharmaceutical medication of any kind since 2017. We used to spend thousands of dollars a year on that crap. Thousands. Some of those medicines were $600 and $800 a month with no insurance. It was a fun time to be crazy, let me tell you.
Not cool.
But to not have that constant yearly sickness payment that you made every 90 days or every 30 days, depending upon how sick you were. And you're going to tell me, somebody's going to say they can't afford to live this way? What do you think, my dear?
Well, it's the same for me. I mean, just if you take the fact that I had really severe acid reflux, where I literally for 8 years, every single day of that 8 years, I had to take an Nexium. If I didn't, within 12 hours of missing that dose, I would have acid coming in the back of my throat. And that's not a joke. It's not exaggeration. It was horrible. Anyway, when Nexium was first out, of course, you know, your insurance would cover it, right? But once it was over the counter, guess what? You know, you're buying it over the counter. And I was spending, I mean, you know how expensive that stuff is, right? But you're only supposed to use it for 7 to 14 days. I used it every single day. And so we're talking a crap ton of money I spent on Nexium alone. I mean, that would definitely pay for my meat increase if you want to say it costs more that way. It was, and that was just one medication. I was also on 3 blood pressure medications. Now, granted, my insurance did cover most of that, but still, I mean, and if I had to pay for that out of pocket, holy moly, I can't even imagine. So.
Yeah, and I used to have, because my stomach was always in a turmoil, you know, I was always felt like I either had sour gut or it was on fire, you know, it was one or the other. And always inflamed and upset. And so I ate tons of those stupid antacids.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I get
Those
huge
big, yeah.
2-pack bottle things of ginormous
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
and go
I did
through
that
it
too.
like crazy. And I think part of that was sugar addiction. Somebody's asking, how many pills are you taking now? 0. Goose egg. I haven't taken a pharmaceutical since the end of 2017.
Mine has been more recent, but I was still on a low dose of a blood pressure, one of the blood pressure medications, but I got off that, and so far I mean, my blood pressure is probably a little bit higher than most doctors would like, but who's to say that's not my normal blood pressure? So, I mean, I feel good. I know what it feels like to have, you know, my pressure go up, and I'm good. So 0.
And you left out one important detail there
What's that?
that we need to make sure that people know about. You changed your way of eating before you could
Oh,
lose
yeah.
that last blood
Yeah.
pressure medication.
Yeah. I was on keto for close to 2 years, and I had cleared up almost everything. There was just a few issues, and one of them was a blood pressure issue. And going carnivore after, like, I think a month or 2 in, I decided, you know what, I'm going to just stop taking it and see what happens. So far, so good. So we'll see.
Yeah, eat meat, drink water, because meat heals. We're literally living proof of this right now. I mean, you know, we both are improving daily, even now, in many ways that I know I never expected. I can't speak for Amber. What about you? Are you noticing anything that you
Oh,
didn't?
okay. I don't know if you can see this. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sunburn.
Still, dang it. I
Well,
was
how long?
hoping.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. Let's
I
examine
know I
this a
don't
little
like
bit.
that patient word. Don't even put that on me.
So, how long were you out in the sun? Because I know of 45 minutes because we were talking while you were out in the sun
Yeah.
for that 45 minutes. How long after that?
Probably 2 hours. It was probably a total of 2 hours, I would say.
Well, if you go out without a lot of tan to start with, maybe you should do baby steps. Just a
No,
thought.
I
Just a
don't do
thought.
that P
I
word
mean,
real well.
I haven't used that word so
I know, but
far.
you
Only
want
you
to.
have alluded to it.
But you want to. You know it.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. But I don't need to because you made the point for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Something that people ask me periodically, and I don't know if you've been asked this yet or not, is how do you stand up to these doctors when they give you advice or they want you to do something that your natural intuition tells you no? Now, I know how I do it, but I want to hear how you approach it
Well,
first.
I'm kind of a stubborn butt anyway. But when I don't like something or I don't feel that it's right, I say no. And then my doctor will say, "What?" And I'm, "No." And he's like, "Okay." And like when I would have a follow-up visit with him to get my blood pressure medication, which thank God I don't have to do that anymore. But he would say, "Well, did you go do such and such like, you're supposed to?" And I would go, "No." And he would say, "Why not?" And I said, "Because I don't want to. I don't feel the need for it." And he's like, "Okay." So I'm sure my file, it's a pretty thick file, and I'm pretty sure a lot of it has non-compliant written all over it. I'm pretty sure. Matter of fact, you know how they do that online medical record things now, where you can check out your own medical history and all that? And he actually had something in there like that. Patient was given the, directions, blah, 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 and patient chose not to follow directions or something like that. And I was
You
like,
were
oh,
non-compliant. You were
really?
non-compliant bad girl. Shame
Yeah,
on
yeah.
you.
I know, whatever. Yeah, but you know what? Uh, Doctors are just like anybody else. Yeah, they may have, obviously, they have more experience than you do in medical field, unless you're a doctor too. But they're not gods, and they don't know every single thing, and they don't get to spend enough time with you to really know you anyway. And they darn sure don't have enough background in, diet information, foods and all that stuff. Maybe some do, but most of them don't. They didn't get that training. So why am I going to take advice from somebody, number one, when the doctor is, doesn't look so healthy themselves, and then tries to tell me, what kind of diet I should be on? I don't think so. I just don't think so. Now, luckily, my doctor is not really like that. He's not really keen on the whole keto thing, and good gosh, I could imagine what he said if I said carnivore. But he said, well, keep doing what you're doing. You look great. Everything is great. But just be kind of careful because it's really not meant to be long term. And I was like, no, you were doing so good. Why did you do that? No. And that just tells me that he didn't do his research, or, he is a healthy doctor. This guy is. He runs, he does all that. So, and I really do like him. But that was real disappointing because I was really hoping he had done some more research on that. And I was really bummed because I really do like him, but bummer.
Well, I don't have any problem telling the doctor no because, as you aptly said there a minute ago, they're just people.
Yes.
Now, granted, they have the knowledge. They have knowledge and experience I don't have, and I respect that greatly. But I also have learned that the prescription pad is their only weapon, and it's the
Yes.
preferred weapon for the majority of
Yes.
physicians.
That's what they're taught.
And I've come to the conclusion that except in cases of actual real illness not brought on by food
Or injuries.
or injury, you know, they're just, they're ridiculous. I mean, my blood pressure was 135 over 85, a classic anxiety white coat blood pressure. And I asked them to take it again
Oh, I
20
have
minutes
that.
later, and they never, and they wouldn't do it. And they wanted to
Oh,
put me,
no.
guy wanted to put me on a statin. I'm like, no, you're not doing that. I'm not taking that. And
no way.
see, I have an advantage. I haven't been back to see a doctor. I haven't seen a physician other than a cannabis physician, which is a whole different world because they don't talk to you about anything other than why do you need to use cannabis. You don't get into anything dietary on any
Right.
level, and they're never going to.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen a medical doctor since 2017, and barring an injury, I don't see me seeing one. I just don't, because the dietary situation has been resolved. But I'm not afraid. They're just
Yeah,
people.
me either.
And, there's no need to be rude, be respectful, be polite,
Yeah,
but be
exactly.
assertive. It's your health
Yes.
that's at risk here,
Yes.
not,
And can I?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Can I do a plug real quick?
Sure.
Okay. If y'all have not read the book by Dr. Ken Berry called The Lies My Doctor Told Me, please do. I just can't say enough about that. That really kind of hit me upside my head and made me go, you know what? I'm definitely not going to just take the word, and follow every bit of advice that's ever given to me without, doing research and et cetera. Please read that book. And matter of fact, if you go to my page on Instagram, I am running a contest to give away that book free. That's a signed copy. So you don't even have to go buy it. You might could win it. I'm just saying it's very important to read that book. It is so, so good. I mean, the information is fabulous because, he's a doctor. And guess what? He used to be one of those doctors that, did the typical write out the medications, do all that. And now he's advocating for the very opposite. And he feels horrible that he gave that kind of advice to his patients in the beginning. He's horrified. And so he's doing everything he can to make it, other people aware of this, that you don't have to take everything your doctor says. And, do your research and read that book. Seriously, it's really good. Okay,
I
I'm
haven't
sorry.
had the privilege yet, but it's on my list of books to get because I greatly respect Dr. Berry. We
It's a
got a
great book.
question. We got a question from Mother Ketosis. Do you both just eat meat, salt, and water, or do you incorporate other animal products like egg and cheese? I only eat meat and drink water. I cook with butter and salt. That's it. I drink some bone broth before bedtime every night, and that's all. There's nothing else. And I don't feel a need to consume it. I was taught to eat the meat I crave and can afford. I don't crave eggs. I never was a cheese eater. And I'm thriving. Amber, what about you?
Well, when I first started carnivore, I did do the whole animal thing. Like I would allow eggs and heavy cream and cream cheese, sour cream cheese, and that kind of thing. But after just a couple of months in, or 1 month in, I don't remember where it was that I decided to cut out the dairy. The only thing I would have would be butter on occasions. And now eggs are cut out too. That was my most recent thing to cut out. And I may add them back in one day. I don't know. But as of right now, I don't really care. I'm not really missing it. It's not that big of a deal. Um, I mean, but I am kind of curious. I'm one of those people, I want to see how certain things affect my body. So I might add back in, say, eggs, just to see if I really am, have some kind of reaction. But to be honest with you now, I'm not exactly sure how I would know. Because do you know the video that Sean Baker did about people like us who cut out so much that when you add anything, even though you normally wouldn't react to it because you don't have it anymore, you have zero tolerance, kind of like alcohol, but of course alcohol is bad for you, period, you know that, but you're gonna have a reaction even if the food really wasn't that bad for you. So I'm like, how am I supposed to know now if I add something back in, you know? So I don't know what I'm going to do. But right now I'm eating, the only thing that is not animal, well, meat, is I do have some spices. I use a paleo pink powder and the real salt seasonal, and that's pretty much it. So
Yeah, I just, as I've said time and time again, I'm there's too much at risk. I'm not interested in tweaking or fiddling or
yeah,
experimenting. It's just not worth the risk to me. And that's why we keep Amber around, because so we can watch her eat raw liver and not
Yeah.
almost spit it on a plate. But she couldn't handle the sardines. They didn't last.
No, no.
She couldn't complete that swallowing maneuver for love nor money.
That is the fishy. Why do people like that? That fishy taste is so rank. I just don't understand.
People like what they like, my dear.
I
They like what they
guess.
like. So
Yeah.
behavior changes. That's a big thing for a lot of people. A lot of folks,
Yeah.
they get on low carb, they get on a ketogenic way of eating, or of course, what everybody who talks about getting on the carnivore way of eating, one of the first things that everybody notices, and the brain fog lifts, your clarity of thought improves. What about you? Any behavioral changes or
Well,
alterations?
this is an interesting thing, and I think I've said this before. Um, like there were a few things that would just set me off. I'm talking like a meow, and it's a driver who gets in front of me in the left lane and doesn't move. That's no, that's just a no. And also politics. Yeah, sometimes that kind of riled me a little. So I would get really bent out of shape, and when I would talk about it, I would just get real excited, and just rah, 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 and like my husband would say, "Why are you yelling at me?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not yelling at you. I'm just yelling," And I would just get, just real excitable or whatever. And after I was on keto for like, I don't know, a good year or whatever, my friend who is my hairdresser, she's like, one thing that I can tell you I've noticed about you. And I'm like, what? And she's like, you're so calm. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she goes, we're having a conversation about politics right now, and you're not about to jump out of your chair. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess so. I'm just kind of like, yeah, it riles me, but I'm not like excitable or whatever. Now, my husband claims he's like, it's just because you're getting older, and you're kind of mellowing in your years. And I'm like, I don't know, because I just don't, I don't have that road rage like I used to have. When I drive now, I'm like, somebody cuts me off or they're driving slow in the left-hand lane, I'll just be like, idiot, gah. And then just go about my business and sing him to my country music and, whatever. Or before I'd be just like, meh, honk, honk, So to me, that's kind of a big change. But, I don't know. I guess age too. Heck, I don't know. But I feel calmer. So,
I am definitely 100 trillion times calmer. And I genuinely believe, and I harp upon this all the time, that not being inflamed is the biggest reason for that. Because when your body's inflamed, even if you're not in pain, but you can still, that's something we need to just emphasize over and over. You can be inflamed and not be in pain.
yes.
And
Or
that
not even realize
affects
it.
how you perceive things and how you react to things, and all
Hmm.
sorts of biological processes going on that I'm not smart enough to articulate properly. Uh, but I tell you, it's even the worst of the worst that's happened to me since I lost my symptoms and everything and been living this way. I haven't gotten that crazy anger, that screw it, slamming my fist on the desk, ranting and raving. The world is at fault. It's, I'm cursed,
Yep.
da, 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 da. Woe is me, whine, whine, whine. And none of that takes place.
Yep.
And I'm not even any fun to argue with anymore, because I've just got better things to do with my time than to get upset and try to change somebody's mind about politics or religion or any of those things that just create conflict.
You just laugh.
I
Ha,
do.
ha, ha,
I
ha,
just
ha,
really
ha.
laugh. I think it's hilarious, the amount of energy that people waste on stupid stuff.
It's true. I was one of those people. So, yeah.
Somebody says in chat, Fiber Fit Before 50 and Beyond says, my PMT, anxiety, and bouts of depression have fully disappeared on carnivore. That is awesome. I am
Very
so
awesome.
happy for
Yay.
you. That is, yes, that's winning in the extreme. I feel normal for the first time in years, like since my 20s. That is such a beautiful thing. I tell you what, if we
It
don't say
is.
anything else for this rest of this episode, that right there was the high point. I'm telling you, that was. Thank you so much for sharing that. You have no idea how happy that makes me,
Me
because
too.
once you've been depressed and you really know what it's like, you get free of it. It thrills me to know down to the core of my soul when I see somebody else has gotten free of it. It's just like the most beautiful thing to know that somebody else isn't walking around with their own personal anvil like I did.
Agree.
What a beautiful thing. Thanks for sharing that with us. And
Yes,
please
thank
make
you.
sure that you share your story with other people,
Yes, so important.
because you're going to inspire somebody. I bet your husband is
I bet
happy
he is
too.
too.
I bet he's doing backflips every way, coming and going. Because my wife in the beginning, she was real suspicious. She's like, "You're not responding like you used to do. What's going on here?" I confused the hell out of her for like 6 months. Yeah, but this lifestyle doesn't work, right? 368 days eating meat, drinking water, sitting right here before you. It does work. I'm living proof. And I'm posting a picture later today on Instagram. It's the fattest picture of me that we could find, and it's still not me at my heaviest, because I was maybe 270 in that picture, and I look enormous because I
Is,
was enormous.
isn't it funny though that now we're like digging for those horrible pictures? Oh, where's the worst picture I can find? And that's why I dug out my passport, because I remember that picture being hideous. And the customs agents, when after I had lost my weight and everything and healthier looking and all, and took better pride in my appearance too, they would like look at the passport, look at me, look at the passport, look at me, and I'd be like, I know, it really is me, but I know, it's terrible.
I haven't ever had the passport situation, but I do remember after I first lost a bunch of my weight, and I would go in and have to show my driver's license, buying alcohol or cannabis products at the dispensary, whatever, and people would, oh yeah, I like, because my driver's license picture on my Instagram. There's actually the old driver's license picture right side beside the new driver's license picture that the lady behind the counter, she made me show her my driver's license, my new one, or not my driver's license, another form of ID, and answer a couple of questions, because the difference in my physical appearance was so great.
I know what you mean.
And when we explained it to her, she's like, "Well, you want to take a picture of this screen?" So I got to take this. That's the state of Florida DMV screen, where you could see my 2008 fat face, which it doesn't even look like a human being almost, and my current picture, which looks like me now. It's just,
2008 must have been a bad year, because that was my horrible passport picture, was 2008.
actually, I said it wrong. 2011 is when we moved here. So December 2000. So it was December 2011, January of 2012 that I got that first driver's license. My mistake. Somebody would go through and recognize the discrepancy and slap me about the head.
Right? You lied.
Um, I don't, I don't get upset.
Yeah.
Now I can still get angry, but it's a genuine, real anger, not psycho rant.
Right. Just busting out over nothing. Yeah. We have a question,
Somebody,
by the way. Yeah.
G Bev's Keto says, "Keto and the weight loss that's come with it has definitely helped my own mental health. Still have my meds, but so much more stable now." That's great.
Awesome.
Somebody's wanting to know, curious, are we either implementing liver or types of livers? If so, okay. Are either of us, basically, are we eating liver? And if we are, what kinds of liver, and any ways or recipes that we'd like? Amber, go ahead.
Yeah. You need to go back and watch my liver tasting video, because it's pretty darn funny. I had made it 4 different ways. The first way, I had frozen some, this is beef liver, cow liver, whatever,
Hmm.
and I grated it after it was frozen, and then I mixed it into hamburger meat. I did it at a 30-70 ratio, a 50-50 ratio, then I did liver and onions, and then I did raw liver. Well, the 30-70 is quite doable. So if you are wanting to kind of ease into it, seriously, freeze the liver and then take a grater, like the really fine one that you kind of do zest with. That's what I use. And you got to do it pretty quick because when it thaws, it is a goopy, nasty, icky mess. So you gotta be quick and you just do a little bit at a time. Mix it in that hamburger meat. And if you do it at 30-70, you won't even notice, honestly. Now, when you get to the 50-50 mark, the texture is funky and you taste it. So I would, if you're kind of leery of liver like me, 30-70. The liver and onions I couldn't do, but you might want to try that. I mean, you can, DM me and I can tell you how I did it if you're curious. And now the raw liver was just freaking rank. It's just rank. I mean, it wasn't the taste. That taste was pretty mild, but the consistency was so nasty. But I mean, to each his own. I can't do it. So I would stick to the hamburger and liver ratio thing.
I only eat the meat I crave and can afford, and I have yet to crave liver. I don't feel any need. I have eaten some wrapped in
One.
bacon and fried in lard a couple of times as a test, but I just don't feel a need for it. And I'm going to stick with the way I was taught that served me very well now for 368 straight days, and I'm just not going to fool with it. If I feel a need to eat liver, I will eat liver, and you'll see in pictures on my dinner plate or my lunch plate or breakfast plate. But until then, nah, nah. Somebody else says carnivore has helped quiet all the noise and take away all the crappy variables in the equation of happiness and enlightenment. It has helped me focus on my spirit and life without the
Nice.
mental monster. Man, that's beautiful.
Nice. Wow,
Very,
nicely
very,
put. Wow.
as
You're a writer?
compassionate carnivore that said
Nice.
that. Thanks so much
Nice.
for sharing that, and
Yeah, that was beautiful.
congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah, somebody saying your body will tell us if we
Yeah.
need organs. I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
I certainly
Uh,
don't crave it. Mm-mm.
when I first started the carnivore way, I was eating 4 times a day. And I had no doubt it's because my body, once it was exposed to nothing but nutrition, was like, oh gosh, give us all you can.
I was hungrier too.
I mean, I
Yeah.
was just, I was eating 10 slices of bacon 4 times a day. And it
Whoa.
wasn't because
Wow,
I
wow.
was like, oh, this is bacon, I'm just going to pig out. No,
Mhm.
I was hungry, and that's all I wanted was the bacon in the evening. And then sometime in November, December, I was like, yeah, I don't need that anymore at night. And
Yeah.
so, once in a blue moon, I might get a craving for some bacon fat. So we got this certain
Hmm.
type of bacon that the fat on it's so good. And so a couple slices of that and I'm good. Someone saying we are sugar addicts who have found carb sobriety. That's exactly right.
True
Somebody else is
story.
saying their kitchen isn't cluttered anymore and their fridge isn't cluttered anymore either.
Right? Or pantry. My pantry, oh my, I used to keep that sucker stocked because I was one of those people who, when I wanted to cook something specific, I better have every ingredient. So I had all of that. And now my pantry is so sad, but I can use it to store, stuff, I guess. Yeah, it's
We
interesting.
did the same thing. We cleared out all the spaghetti angel hair, all the pasta
Oh yeah,
boxes,
gone.
and the different kinds of flour and different kinds of
Yes.
sugar, and we gave it all to the vegetarians who used to live behind us, who no longer live there anymore. Because it was food. We just couldn't get that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I know.
We
Me
couldn't
too. I
throw it
gave it away
away.
too. Yeah,
But
me too.
now I could throw that stuff away without
Yeah,
any
me
problem
too.
at all,
Yeah.
without thinking any bit about it. Somebody said the recycling bin doesn't have hardly anything in it these days. And then Ann
Right?
says they need a bigger freezer. Carnivore life in action, because we had to get a freezer. And we originally got the freezer thinking that it was going to be for a quarter of a cow, but really what it's turned out to be is the bone broth and bacon storage freezer.
Ooh, speaking of that, don't let me forget to tell you about bone brothing.
Okay. I won't let you forget. Okay, somebody says, I wanted to share that I had a great experience at the doctor last week. My doctor and I were discussing nutrition, and she actually approves of keto and carnivore. That's awesome.
Yay, yes.
Good for you, man.
Awesome. Are
That
they
is
in my
great.
area, by the way?
Yeah, I would love
Oh,
to
God, me
have
too.
a pro carnivore doctor in this area, or
I
even just.
found one, and they're not taking new patients. So I'm still looking.
But I feel so good.
Yeah,
I don't feel any need to go see a doctor.
yeah,
I mean, especially in this day and age now, where if you want to get a blood test done, you can just go and get one done. You just go to
yeah.
the lab and say, I'd like to have blood work done. And you need to know what to ask them to test for and pay for it. But you could find out and figure out a lot of these things on your own. I don't
Oh,
necessarily
absolutely.
recommend that because we don't give out medical advice.
No, no.
Someone saying fit before 50 and beyond, just say my butcher asked if I was a bodybuilder the other day because I'm always in there. That's great. That's great. I
That's
appreciate your
nice.
comments. Hey, and if you got any other questions, don't hesitate to ask because that's why we do that this way because we want to hear from you folks. We really appreciate you
Yes.
being here. All right, switching topics a little bit. Something that I see a lot, and you and I have discussed it, is we see a lot of people that they cave to their sugar addiction.
Hmm.
They cave, and when you listen to them talk, what defeated them was the combination of the sugar addiction and the phrase "I want" versus "I need."
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we have in this society. Oh, if you want it, you should have it right now. If you want it, you should be able to have it right now.
Everything in
And
moderation.
um, yeah, moderation. How's that working for everybody?
It didn't work for me at all. No. Mm-mm.
um, and I just think it's so important. One of the things that I have noticed this past year is I am much more focused on what I need, and what I want almost at times is irrelevant because what I need is so much more important. And that's a complete 180 from how I thought prior to carnivore. I'm not talking about prior to mental illness or 6 months ago or 6 years ago undergoing some major. No, I mean, since carnivore, I've become aware of the difference between what I need versus what I want. I don't know if it's because of the brain fog absence or what, but man, it's been wonderful. And I just can't help but wonder about our brothers and sisters who are making mistakes and eating garbage here and there because they succumb to whatever intellectualization they created to justify their sugar addiction or, you know, I know there's a lot of
Yeah.
psychological components to it, but
Sure.
if we just focus on what we need instead of what we want, how can we go wrong? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, that's absolutely right, and I think it also kind of goes way back from, what we were taught. This is how you eat. This is the food pyramid. This is all that, and we followed that advice to a degree, and eating the processed food, like cereal. Hey, that's great for you. Breakfast, most important part of the day. Eat your Pop-Tarts, and all that. And so, of course, you know, we get addicted to that and it makes it very difficult. I totally get it because I was there. But the thing is, now we know better. Those who are watching this, who are in our community, they know. So then it becomes a point of personal responsibility more so because now you have the right information. Now what are you going to do with that information? You know, and I am not so much of a stickler where I say never, ever, ever, ever in, you know, the rest of your life can you ever, ever, ever have a cookie. I think that's, you know, BS. In your situation, it's a little bit different. I totally get where you're going. Your
Don't
food
want Brett to
is
have a cookie
literally
under any
medication. Yeah.
circumstance.
Yeah, and there are different circumstances. And when you're in that kind of a position, okay, for instance, a diabetic, and I don't understand the diabetics who will say, "Oh, I'm gonna eat that cake, but I'll just up my insulin." Okay, that to me is a totally different story than say somebody like me. Yes, I was pre-diabetic, but if I have one cookie, I'm not going to become diabetic. Okay, so if I choose as an adult to indulge, and I know that I can get right back and it not bother me, sink me in a rabbit hole, not cause me to have mental illness again or, you know, freak out on people or whatever, then, you know, that's my responsibility. You know, I'm going to suffer the consequences, if any. And, you know, I can't blame anybody else for that. And I'm also not going to go and whine about it either. I'm not going to say, oh, help me because I can't, you know, keep a cookie out of my mouth. You know, you have to, you know, take some responsibility now that you know what you need to do for your body. And if you're doing it for health reasons, it's so much more important. I mean, if you're talking just all the issues you have, you needed to lose some weight. But, you know, if you have weight, then you got other issues you may not know about. But, you know, you just need to step up and just, you know, make that decision. But if you do decide not to do that, you know, you're going to probably have consequences, so be prepared for that. And, you know,
We got a great question in here, and I assume this is for both of us. It says, do you think you may be under eating calories, fats, and protein? No, not on any level. I feel incredible every single day. Not just a little bit okay. I mean, I'm like this all the time. Amber has talked to me at different times of the day now for weeks on
like
end.
that. Mm-hmm.
Is there any difference? Is there any difference in all the videos you see of me doing at different times throughout the day? No, this is how I am. This is how it is now. And that's why, another reason why, even if the depression, the risk of having my mental illness come back wasn't there, just feeling like this, I wouldn't screw around with anything that could jeopardize
it. Yeah.
It's too awesome. I mean, it's genuinely just too awesome. And my heart goes out to folks who remember food better than I ever can, because when I smell my old favorites now, they make my stomach my gut gets unpleasant. I mean, I don't, and it doesn't smell good. I mean, biscuits and gravy, I used to live for that stuff. Now, oh, it's horrible. I can't stand it because it's not good for me. Hello, tall redhead, you fine carnivore lady, you. What about
For
you,
me, I don't really feel like that because I'm not hungry, I guess is what my thing is. I eat when I'm hungry, I stop when I'm full, and I just don't want anymore. So, I mean, if my body still needed it, just like say you're eating a lot of vegetables or whatever, your body's going to keep, you know, you're hungry, you're hungry, you're hungry. Besides just the carb cycle thing, it's you're not getting everything that you need from those vegetables, so you keep, you know, your body keeps wanting to add more and more and more. Well, I that doesn't happen to me anymore. I eat, you know, 8 ounces of a burger and, you know, like 5 to 7 pieces of bacon, and that's it. I'm done. I can't do anymore. I'm done. And then I'm good until dinner. I only eat twice a day. I mean, that's all I can eat. And I was, to be honest with you, a little worried that I wasn't getting enough. I mean, I haven't totaled out calories or macros or anything like that. I have not yet to do that. Many people have asked me that, and I kept meaning to do that just so I have an answer, not that I really care. But yeah, I'm just not hungry. I mean, I'm not going to force myself to eat if I'm not hungry. So obviously, I must be getting enough nutrients, or my body would keep telling me to eat more. So I'm not worried. And
No,
my skin, my nails, my hair, everything is doing great. So,
I don't worry about these things that people worry about. I don't worry about too much protein. I don't worry about my kidneys. I don't worry about salt. I don't
I don't
worry
either.
about butter. I don't worry about electrolytes. I don't, what's the point in worrying about all that? Just think about it. 20,000 years ago, was anybody thinking about that? No, they were just going out and finding an animal to kill to feed their family or their village. There was no measuring and, there was no, there
Oh,
was
wait,
no
now hold
keto,
on.
there
They
was no
found in the
ketone
cave.
strips.
Well, they had, in the cave drawings, they had their macros. I saw it.
Oh, it's so funny. Before we forget and get, because we're under the 15, we got 14 minutes left. I've got written down here, we got to mention Mike Carnomat.
Yes.
So I believe you had some things that you wanted to share regarding our friend Mike. So why don't you take off?
Oh, well, I just love Mike. I think he is just phenomenal. He's, a really good voice in the carnivore keto community. And I had the opportunity to meet him. We did a chat with me, my husband, and him and his wife at his house in Austin. And it was really a shame that the video and audio didn't turn out so well, but it was just a really nice conversation. And matter of fact, he's going to be at the meetup on Sunday with his wife too, along with I think we're up to like 48 people, not including my husband and me.
That's
So we're
awesome.
at 50 people. So
That's
that's
awesome.
amazing. First meeting, first meetup. Crazy. That's
That's
how big our community is getting. Okay, I'm sorry, I got off track, but
No,
anyway, all
you're
right.
great, dude. You're great. That's awesome. No, I think that the meetup's fantastic. I agree. Mike's an outstanding individual. He's made some really great videos. He's
Yes,
more focused about expressing himself and sharing his thoughts. He's
yes.
not caught up into the social media game like we play, and he's not trying to grow things. He's just trying to be helpful. And he the interview he did with you guys was fantastic, and I'm going to try to reach out to him to see if I can help him iron out some of those technical difficulties so that doesn't happen again in the future.
So, so
But
sad.
he's done his interview with Josh, whose last name escapes me right now, is fabulous. The things he does with Girly and the Cowboy that he does with Sarah from another channel. I never can remember her name, and I apologize, Sarah. Just she's another outstanding individual. She's keto carnivore ish. Neat
I love
lady,
that.
very neat lady. Um, let's see some other things that we were going to have down here to talk about. And I think this is such a big deal that doesn't get talked about enough, and that's the issue of sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I was sick, not sleeping was just part of the gig. And I'm telling you, as somebody who lived for 2 months and didn't sleep more than an hour or two a night, I can tell you that's not good for the human form.
Mm-mm.
It's not good for your mind. It's not good for your spirit. It's horrible.
No.
And I also believe that sleep disruptions is the body's first alert for most of us that there's a problem with the system. Hello, Roseanne. Thanks for coming by, dear. Carnivoreliciousness, or carnivorous lioness. Gee, I spelled it right. It's like learning a new
I
language.
like that.
Yeah, I like that too. It's very cool. It says that they sleep so much better. Yeah, I too. My sleep, it's still not what I would like entirely. Ideally, I would love to just get sleep straight hours, 7 hours, 8 hours straight through every night. But I'm 58. I get up and go to the bathroom every now and then. But that's
Yeah.
even not a problem if I could just go back to sleep, which for me,
Yeah.
that was always the problem. I would go to sleep and then I'd wake up and I couldn't go back to sleep.
Yep.
But now that's not the big issue that it used to be. Fit Before 50 and Beyond said, my husband was a major insomniac. He's sleeping all night through now that he's doing carnivore.
Nice. That's awesome.
I sleep so much better now. And it continues to improve week by week. I'm sleeping deeper. I'm even starting to dream again. I didn't dream for years.
Wow.
For years. It was because of all those meds. I have no doubt. I just did. And I actually had a dream 2 nights ago. And I was something about basketball, something foolish and nonsensical, of course. That only happens in dreamland. But I was able to remember. I was able to recognize I was dreaming. And then I woke up kind of giggling about it. I'm like, finally! Maybe I can have some cool dreams again. Someone said, Roseanne said she just had 16 pieces of American bacon and she is so happy.
Yeah.
Because bacon is happy.
Because bacon, yeah.
Somebody says their dad needs pills to sleep. I was that way for years. I had to take trazodone every night. Sometimes trazodone and Ativan just to go to sleep for years. For years. Yes, so many benefits to this way of eating, and I don't think we've actually come close to tallying them all up yet. I predict in a year from now, I'll be talking about something else that's gotten better that no one in the world would have thought was even possible, like the eyesight improvement.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Who saw that coming? I mean, seriously. All right, we got about 8 minutes left. I also want to take a couple of minutes and say how grateful I am that we have one Dr. Shawn Baker in our community.
I agree.
He has been a consistent voice. He's never wavered. He's been take care, y'all, Redhead. Thanks for coming by, dear. He's never wavered in his message. He's been consistent from day one. If you want to eat cheese, he's fine with that. If you want to eat raw, he's fine with that. If you can change, you can stay within the animal kingdom, which is what carnivory always did. No one's actually given it an official definition, but animal source foods is it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he's just, every new attack that's been thrown, people have tried to come, and he's under a relentless assault on his social media like you people can't imagine. You just can't imagine. It's horrible, the things that people say to him every day. And he's unwavering.
I agree.
There's no quitting that man whatsoever. And I am grateful that we have one Dr. Shawn Baker.
I agree. I had the opportunity to get to meet him in person. And, you just don't really know how somebody really is in person versus their social media presence, But he is so approachable and so willing to answer questions and so patient, because some people, wow, I mean, as we stood around and waited, some people can be really pushy. And he was so, calm about it and answered everybody's question. I am so impressed with him. And basically what Brett had said about how he's not so dogmatic. He doesn't say, if you don't do it exactly like this, then you are out of the club. And I had watched a video before I even knew who he was. And I think Brett had mentioned him or something. I didn't even know who he was. And I watched that video and I was like, I love him. And I was like, because I really hate that whole, you must do it this way. As Brett knows, I get real, I just don't like that. And he was just so inclusive. I mean, yes, there's, certain things, of course, but if you choose to whatever, hey, that's your thing, doesn't mean that you get kicked out of the club or anything. And so, for me, I just have huge props for the man. I really do.
Got a question. Somebody says, Tornado Bird 03 says, Brett, how do you decide on how much bacon to have at each meal? Well, we've learned through trial and error about how much I need to eat. pretty much, and it's pretty consistent. You know, 8 ounces of ground beef for lunch and breakfast, and 8 to 10 slices of bacon at every meal. And for dinner, I'll have 12 ounces of ground beef with the 8 to 10 slices of bacon, and it just works. It was kind of a trial and error, common sense kind of thing. I hope that answers your question. Somebody says, yeah, he's great. Sean Baker's great. They don't know how he puts up with the abuse, and he fights back with humor. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Carnivorous lioness. That's a great name. We don't turn it into dogma. Yeah, that's true. Somebody's asking, Bacon, concerned about nitrates? No, I'm not concerned about nitrates. I'm not concerned about nitrites. I'm not concerned about sodium. I'm not concerned about anything. I'm serious. 368 days. You could go to my Instagram and see what I looked like on day one. And you could see what I looked like this morning and what I looked like on Tuesday, my 365th straight day. What is there to worry about? That's the biggest thing. Eat the meat you crave and can afford. Eat until you're not another bite full, and trust your body.
Yeah, that's big.
We got 4 minutes left. I can't thank you all enough, folks.
Yes, thank y'all so much.
You're all one of the reasons why we do it this way, because your questions are always organic and many of them are very awesome. We had some great questions again today, not just the, what do you eat kind of things, something you have to think. And I appreciate so many of you sharing your experiences.
Yes.
Get out there and tell those stories. You just got to. Because Amber made a great video this week. You just never know who's listening. And you never know when some remark that you may have made in your interview or in a podcast that you didn't think was really, maybe I could have even said that better. But that's the one remark that somebody comes back to you in a message, and it's what got their attention.
Yeah, it's so true. Things that I had no clue would really make any impact. And I get, private messages and I'm like, wow, I really need to make sure, to present the best side because, people really are listening. And you could plant that seed that might grow into something wonderful. And so, share your stories. People resonate with that.
We got 2 minutes left. I want to get this in really fast. You can go to YouTube right now and see 7 episodes of our Ketovore Kast. Spell it for them, Amber.
KetovoreKast. So we kind of played on the cast there.
Yeah, Ketovore Kast. You can check it out on YouTube. All of these are good, including this one. It'll get uploaded tomorrow because I've got too much to do today. Will you talk about when am I recording next? At 3:35 today. I'll be producing a vocal track today with you.
Nice.
So we're happy about that. Listen, you guys have a beautiful weekend. We thank you all so much for coming by. I know Fit Before Fiber, I'll answer that eyesight thing another time, or if you want, remind me in a direct message or something, and I'll answer it there. I'm not trying to cut you short, but we're just about out of time. We got seconds remaining.
Thanks for the compliments, y'all.
We appreciate you, and I want each and every one of you to always remember it's okay to be thankful. We'll see y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Next
Thank
time.
you.
Bye-bye.